Well, first of all, it's an honor to be here.
Everybody just speak right into the mic closer.
You closer? Well, I was real lucky to study with Dr. John Biggers at Texas Southern University many years ago. And what happened is that I was attending the University of Houston, but I applied for financial aid. And then they said, you ought to go to Texas Southern because it's easier to get financial aid there. Texas Southern was set up as an African-American school back in the 40s sometime. Well, I went there and I was amazed at the person that I met in the art department, Dr. John Biggers, who was a fascinating mural painter as well as professor, and he actually taught the students about Mexican mural painting. Okay. So that's one of the ways that I got more involved in the black community alongside my murals in the Chicano community. Because in those days, in the early 70s, there was a lot of activism in our community, and it was so spontaneous because a lot of us that began painting murals were not educated artists or had no education. Most of us all over the United States were farm workers or just ordinary people without even a high school diploma. So it was a very spontaneous thing that happened. And I was one of those. And when we first started doing murals in the Houston area, some of us that were painting together thought that we were the only ones doing that, but it was happening without us knowing every place in LA and in New Mexico and Colorado. And so finally we began to realize that we were part of a movement that was spontaneous, an expression of our repressed feelings in the whole community of cultural suppression and racism and so many other ills that we weren't able to identify very well intellectually, because all we knew how to do was to express something that was in our community through imagery, cultural images, as well as heroes of the Mexican Revolution and other heroes, also locally in Texas. And so it was an incredible experience to be part of that, initially just with my community, right? And so later on, I'm going to show you one mural I did at a housing project in Houston about the black struggle. So, and I forgot to tell you my name. My name is Leo Tanguma, and I was originally from Texas, but I've been here about 30 years in Denver. And by the way, in Houston, I was blacklisted because of the kind of themes that I painted, and I'm proud of that.
Kim was next. Kim, and then Rutha is last.
Okay. I'm Kim Dawson. I'm a local singer and songwriter and part of the group Urban Method, who you will hear from in a bit. And I'm originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I've been in Denver for about, we got some other, hey! I've been here for 16, 17 years. Yes, Mom, Dad, yes, 16 years. I grew up with music as a form of expression for everything. My family is very musical. My parents, both singers, and my parents had a gospel group back in the day, and so I grew up with a lot of the church versions of the songs of this movement, and that's just like been ingrained in me from day one, and that is the way that I communicate the best, is through music, and I see it as a form of every kind of movement. It's just such a part of history. No matter what's going on, there's some musical aspect that was going on at the same time, and so I hope to, by the time my time is done here on this earth, to have contributed to that a little bit.
Good evening. How are you doing? I'm Rutha Harris, as I've been introduced. I'm from Albany, Georgia. I grew up in Albany, Georgia. I was born in 1940, November 27th. I'm the 7th child of Reverend and Mrs. Isaiah Andrew Harris. I started singing in the church. My dad was a minister, of course, and I started singing at the age of 6. And I did my first solo in middle school. I even remember the song, I Love Life, and I Want to Live. And then from middle school to high school to college. I taught for 30 years at the high school that I attended, Monroe Comprehensive High School. I taught special education. In college, I majored in music. Never got the chance to teach it. Had to go back to school and get some education courses, but that's neither here nor there. Then in 1961, I came home for the summer from Florida A&M University after completing 1 year of college there. And the Albany movement had begun. I joined the Albany movement. I sang in mass meetings. And during the Albany movement, the Regional Freedom Singers were founded. This group was founded by Cordell Reagan, who's deceased now. There were 4 of us. Cordell Reagan, Bernice Johnson Reagan, Charles Nevelet, and yours truly. This group was organized with the purpose of raising funds for SNP. We traveled 50,000 plus miles in 9 months, covering 46 states. That was a lot of travel. But we had to do what we had to do. We had to tell the story of the movement through song. We got a chance to sing at Carnegie Hall. We got a chance to sing at the Civic Opera House in Chicago. We got a chance to sing at the March on Washington. How we got to the March on Washington, we were out in California doing a concert. And I'm not sure how we were asked to be on the plane. But on this plane were movie stars. Charleston Heston, Marlon Brando, Stevie Wonder, Sidney Poitier, Rita Moreno. Can't remember everybody who was on there. But that's how we got to the March on Washington. And we did perform at the March on Washington. And while we were waiting to perform at the March on Washington, Peter, Paul, and Mary performed there also. And of course, Mary was crying, so I went over to her and I said, "Why are you crying?" She said, "I don't think you're going to get a chance to sing." I said, "Weren't you asked to sing?" She said, "Yes." So she became okay after that, and they got to sing. And then she was really, really happy there. And of course, I sang at her memorial when she passed away. That was wonderful for me. Never knew that I would do that.